Hi, just checking the light out if there's any shadows on my face. I've really been thinking a lot about personal responsibility, self-responsibility, and how far does that go? And I think it goes the whole way. I mean, I guess we're not responsible for being born, in that God created the way for us to be born, created the way for people to exist, for humans to exist, and created the means for us to be born, and created our soul and put our soul into our bodies when we were conceived. So we're not responsible for that, and we're not responsible for God giving us free will. We didn't do that. God did that. And we're not responsible for what others do to us. Like, we're not responsible for what our parents have done to us when we were a child. We couldn't leave. We couldn't make a choice to separate ourselves from them. So we're not responsible for their actions. However, when we become an adult, whenever that age is, we are responsible for who we are, and we cannot put that, or it's not a good idea to put that responsibility onto anyone else or any entity else. We can't put that onto God. We can't put that onto our parents. We can't put that onto our environment, our culture, our society. And it does us emotional damage to try to put it onto that which is not responsible. So if we try to make somebody else or something else responsible for us, then that's not true. That's not true in God's laws. That's not realistically how it is. So we are acting out of step with God's laws when we do that. Just a little bit of wind coming through there. I don't know how it's going to be for my mic. But I guess I kind of wanted to touch on what I'm seeing is a huge aspect of our society, and how we how we make something or somebody or some faction or some institution responsible for our own choices, for our own body, and that is the medical institution. And it's just like we feel it's lots of the times we just think that we have to almost go down the medical path that's laid out for us. We don't. Many of us do not question that, and so we're putting somebody else in charge of what we do. and it's kind of the whole medical establishment, but it really goes very, very strong way to a doctor. And I mean, there's many doctors that are doing wonderful things, and the use of science and technology is steadily increasing, and some of it seems to me a very high valued thing. What we as mankind has developed to do. The difficulty, I think, comes in when we don't question it. We don't question our own involvement in it. It's almost like what the doctor says we do, and our language betrays us, or doesn't betray us, but it shows us how we feel about it. It's like if a doctor said something and this is what they've suggested that we do, and many people will say, this is what I have to do. I have to do this now. I have to do this other thing now. I have to go for an operation. And we're putting that responsibility on to somebody else for what we do, instead of, I have decided to get an operation. I have decided to take this medication. Is a different frame of mind. It's coming from a different place. And I'm generalizing, of course. But I'm just kind of looking at what a wide group of people do in this particular society, in our Western culture. I had a few years ago. I was going for tests. I was going to my doctor. And I was I was in the frame of mind I was just talking about. I thought it was a good thing to do, and that it was that I should do it. And I was on some medications, and I was a very similar framework of what I was just talking about. But it just changed when I got to the point where I was going to take responsibility for my own body, for my own health, and it just in that changing my perception of it was very beneficial to me. It just felt like it certainly was beneficial emotionally to me, but it also felt, and it seems like it was beneficial physically to me. With that, I was actually on high blood pressure medicine. Can't even remember what it's called now, but that's why these things I do and I get involved in, and then they're gone from me, and I don't need to know what the medication is called. But so we went back and forth on that a few times with the doctor I was going to. I was laughing at calling the doctor my doctor, and that's what is, particularly in Canada, we have socialized medicine, and people just say, well, medicine is free. You just go there and you get it. Well, of course, it's not free. Our rate of taxation is extremely high in Canada. So the doctor that I was seeing, we went back and forth on this. No, did I say cholesterol? Not high blood pressure, cholesterol. And anyways, I studied it. I went and I studied it, and I looked it up, and I pored over it, and actually said, well, no, this is not necessary to take this medicine. Actually, I wrote an 11-page document about it, and it's actually on my a link on my Substack, and I'll link it in this video. But and I took it to this doctor, and I said, I'd just like to talk about this and see what you think, and I said I'd like to see what documentation you have that makes you prescribe this medicine for this cholesterol issue. And I think she said okay, I don't know, but anyways, I gave that to her, and the next time I came back, and she said she had read it, and she thought it was interesting, but she said you're the only patient that has ever questioned me. And not just for cholesterol, I was the only patient that had ever questioned her judgment. Now that's saying something, a huge amount. And she did give me a link to what the documentation she uses, but it wasn't documentation describing why you would prescribe this or what actually is happening in your body as to why you would prescribe this particular medication, but it was how to manage the patient for different medications, and what medication was doing to another one if they were taking another one. That's what she sent me. And she did not send me an initial study as to why this issue was so prevalent in our society. So I kind of want to go a step further, and I don't think I'm going to cover it that well, but I'm just going to initially talk about it here, and then I'll probably do another video. But so taking responsibility fully for our what's happening in our body, our so-called diseases and problems, we are responsible for that. And it just seems like a huge amount of people feel that it's just we don't cause those things, that those things come into our body from outside of us and they make us sick. And there may be things coming in from outside of us that make us sick, but the reason they make us sick is an emotional cause. The sickness is the symptom of the disease. It's not the cause of it. The cause of it is it's an emotional issue. It's not the emotions we feel. It's the emotions we don't feel. It's the emotions that we don't allow ourselves to feel. And depending where they are in your body as to what disease, what sickness, what happens to the body in different places, and becomes what we call our diseases and our sicknesses. So that's what I'm talking about when I say fully responsible. Now, we just like to put those things off onto something else, and I don't know what something else we put them off on. I can't quite figure that out. It's just like there's these things out there that we catch, and we believe that, but it's not true, or it's not. It's true in that in our emotional state, we allow that to happen. If we weren't in that emotional state, it wouldn't happen. So a good example of that in practical issue is let's talk about smoking. So why do we smoke? We smoke because we have an emotional need to smoke. So I was talking about addictions before, in that the smoking is the symptom of our problem. Our problem is we have feelings that we don't want to feel, and smoking alleviates those. Means we don't have to feel those feelings. So if we're not feeling those feelings, we're pushing those feelings down, and that, it's not the smoking really, it's that causes the physical manifestation of that smoking. If the smoking, this probably can't, I don't think this could happen, but if the smoking wasn't causing the denial and the repression of the feelings, then we wouldn't get cancer. That is true. However, I would think if you didn't need to suppress those feelings, you wouldn't smoke. So one kind of goes with the other. But it's not but you can see, if we didn't want to, if we didn't choose to repress our feelings in that way, then we wouldn't have smoked, and then we wouldn't have had the harm that smoke can do to our body. So that's just a kind of a concrete example, one that's easier to see than many other ones, but they're really all the same. All the diseases, all the sickness. So in that way, we can see that if those things are true, what I'm talking about, we can see that we are responsible for all of our sickness. We're responsible for our body aging, and it's like where do you read that? Where do you find that in any literature? I don't know. I don't know, and I can't point to anything except to Jesus saying it. Jesus has said that, and it's just, to me, it just makes sense. I mean, God created us. God gave us free will. We can act however we want in this free will. And God created all the laws that we live by, the law of gravity, the law of aerodynamics. Aerodynamics is something that happens that defies the law of gravity. So there's all these laws we live in, all the scientific, all the biology, all the physics, everything that's happening, and it's really a perfect system, and it's designed so well that all these things can come together, and we have life, and we have light of the sun, and just all these incredibly myriad of things, like billions of different processes that happen in order for us to continue this life. So it's his laws are perfect. His laws allow all this.